Tea time, yeah, making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time, making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time.
Well, welcome to Tea Time. You know what that means. It means it's storytelling time and words. And today I have the incredible Jose Periel in the house, and he's coming all the way from the United States, but he's originally from Venezuela. So you see how Miss Liz gets all the different countries in there. I find out where they come from when they were little. So we're going to get a little bit of Jose's story, and then we're going to get into a topic that maybe many of you Canadian listeners might not know about. We're going to talk about the Seago 6 hostage situation. And Jose wrote a book called From Hero to Villain. And we're going to talk about his book today and all of that good stuff. And we're going to talk about his motivational speaker events and all that he just finished doing. And for all of my listeners out there, you know that Miss Liz was in Sean Fair in 2021. And Jose just spoke at Sean Fair. So we have that in common as well. It's a really small world out there. But before we get started, we're going to get you over to Miss Liz's YouTube channel. We're going to get you to ring that little doorbell so you're notified when all these tea times go live and you can join the live conversations. If you're listening to the replays, I always want to ask you guys to push hashtag replay and let me know where you're tuning in from, because I always like to give you a shout out as well for that. For all of my listeners out there, today's tea time may trigger. So if you feel like you're being triggered, please do leave. I will not be offended by that at all. Again, these tea times are for educational purposes only. We're not here to trigger and hurt anybody. So let's get started with the disclaimer, some bio, and then we're going to get Jose in here and we're going to spill a good tea. And today's tea is called Never Give Up. That's right. His TEA is never give up. So we're giving that message out to all the listeners out there today to never give up. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz myself is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forth in good faith. However, it may bring forth dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the giving time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment and taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussions for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It's significant to know that the show is engaging in discussion forums only to inspire and offer awareness and connection, and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in today's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that the show is not made for you at this time, I respect those wishes and will see you at a later show at a later date and time. Again, all Tea Time shows are hosted on a Thursday, 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you see a show on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's a rescheduled special or surprise tea time, because that's how Miss Liz rolls. So now a little bit on my guest. Well, my guest is patiently waiting in the back room, and we're going to get him up here in just a second. Jose Periel, I hope I'm saying his name right. If not, I'll get him to say it, is a seasoned leadership and resilient coach, drawing from over 3 decades of experience in the global oil and gas industry. A former executive of the PDVSA, Venezuelan National Oil Company. His career has taken him around the world, working on international joint ventures. However, his life took a dramatic turn when he was taken hostage in 2017 as part of the Seago 6, an ordeal that lasted 5 years. During his captivity, Jose smuggled over 1,000 letters to his wife, a remarkable feat that became the foundation for his memoir, From Hero to Villain, My True Story of the Seago 6. Now a sought-after speaker and author, Jose shares his journey of survival, resilience, and faith, inspiring audience to overcome adversity and lead with courage. He is the founder of Survivor LLC, where he coaches individuals and organizations on building unbreakable leadership spirits. In addition to his coaching and speaking, Jose hosts a weekly talk show, Building Resilience, where he discusses the interaction of leadership, resilience, and spiritual growth. His work is a testament to the power of faith and perseverance in the face of unimaginable challenges. Let's get him in. If you'd like to know more about the Seago, please check it out. I will have more information on Miss Liz's Facebook page. But until then, let me get Jose in here and let's start spilling some tea together. Welcome, Jose.
Hello, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, I can't hear you. What happened to your mic?
Oh, my mic is open.
Oh, there. I got you.
Okay.
Welcome, Jose.
Thank you for having me.
So, Jose, I'm going to start the tea time like I always started off. So, who were you as a little boy, and who are you now as a grown man?
Well, I grew up in Venezuela, well, I was born in Venezuela, and I came to here to the U.S. very early, very young, when I was 5 years, because my father was a petroleum engineer in the Venezuelan oil and gas, and he was assigned here to Tulsa, Oklahoma. There's the University of Tulsa, so he did his master degree there, and we stayed here living in the U.S. Until I had like 11 years. I flew back to Venezuela when I was 11 years, and I grew up in a place called San Tomé. That during that time, that was in the 70s, where all the American oil companies were working in Venezuela, because Venezuela is an oil country. So I lived in an oil camp in the middle of the nowhere, but it was run by the Gulf Oil Company. It was called Mene Grande, and I grew up there. So it was kind of funny, because even if we were living in Venezuela, we were having American customs. You know, we celebrated 4th of July, we celebrated Halloween, we did Thanksgiving, a lot of American custom, because, you know, that was the culture that was by the time in Venezuela, American culture.
So, Jose, let's get into the Seago, because a lot of my listeners are from Canada. So let's take it back and tell them a little bit what Seago is.
Okay, Canada is an oil producer too, so many people are very familiar, because Circo Petroleum is a company that is here based, US based, is here in Houston. I live in Houston, but belongs to the Venezuelan oil company that is, as you said, PDVSA in Spanish, PDVSA. PDVSA, for the listener that doesn't know, back to the 80s and the 90s, was the 5th largest company of the world. Okay, so it was big. And Venezuela is one of the largest producer of extra heavy oil, like Canada. So the oil that competes with the Venezuelan oil is the Canadian oil. Are very similar, very, very similar. And so Citgo, it was US based. We had 3 refineries here in the US, and one of the refineries is an area called Lemont in Chicago, in the border with Canada. So the refinery of Lemont is run with Canadian oil. So we're Citgo is very tight with Canada because of that. So Citgo has like 6,000 gas stations here in the US. So in the US, it's very common to see a Citgo gas station. I came here assigned by my company, PDVSA, as a expat here to Citgo, and I became a Citgo worker. And at the end, I finalized being the CEO of the company. I began to be the CEO in 2017.
So in 2017, something happened that changed your life forever, and you wrote a book about it and a memoir, and that's the book that we're going to be talking about today. So what happened in 2017, Jose?
I was ready to get retired, because by that time I had 35 years long career, and the situation with Venezuela has been going bad. People, I don't know if in Canada they're familiar, but Venezuela became a communist regime. There are a lot of Venezuelans have flew out of the country. By the way, in Canada, there are a lot of Venezuelans today because of that bad economical and political situation. So all these things was going on. And it was during the Trump administration. By the way, today is election day, so it's like a cycle that is coming back. So
Repeat of history, right?
Yeah, repeated is the full cycle. Full cycle. It's amazing. So that situation was going bad between the two countries. I never thought that I could get in the middle of a dispute between two countries. Can you imagine that? So I was with my wife hearing a movie, and I received a call to go a last minute meeting. And as I said, I was gonna get retired in a couple of months. So I was in my retired mode. So I went to the meeting. It was a presentation that I was asked to do, and I flew with my five top executives, the five vice president. So I was the president with the five vice president, kind of the board. And we went to the meeting, and it began to be a setup, man. It began to be an ambush. So we were taken hostage by the Venezuelan government because we were dual citizens, and they wanted to get some leverage with the U.S. And the decision they took was take us. They didn't have what to leverage, so they knew our case, and that's why we get caught in the middle of this political situation. And unfortunately for us and for my colleagues, it lasted 5 years, and that's part of the story that I tell in my book.
Now, Jose, the title of your book, From Hero to Villain, tell us why you have that title. Because when I seen the title, I was like, okay, hero to villain. So he was a good guy, but then turned to the bad guy. Like,
Well, that is exactly what happened, because I was a good guy for in the view of PDVSA. I was like a hero. I did a long career, very successful, and I was going to that meeting. I was doing a presentation that we were revamping a refinery in Aruba Island. So I did a presentation. It was like 1,000 people, everybody standing, crowding, wonderful. And 5 minutes after came the guards, the military police, and we were in handcuffs, accused to be American spy. We became the worst of the villains. So that's why I became from being a hero. And 5 minutes after, I was the worst of the villains. So I decided to put it from hero to villain.
well, it reminded me of Robin Hood. You know how I was just like, how did he become the hero and then go to the villain? And
Well,
then
if you
I've
go,
I've
if
seen
you go,
work
if
Jose, and
you
I'm just
go
like, he's a good guy. Like,
if you go to the recording, I have in my YouTube, I have the recording the day that the president of Venezuela announced that we were captured. He accused us to be a lot of things, that we committed treason to the country, that we did corruption, embezzlement, and we were the worst of the American spy that had been traitor of the country. So they accused us to be a lot. So we became like the villains of the story.
wow. So that must have really impact your life, like big time. Like in that moment, 1 minute a hero, the next minute a villain.
I'm gonna say something here that maybe, and this story I tell it in my book. 1 month before my situation happened, I I was in the planning of my retirement, and my boss was kind of sketchy giving me the approval. So I had to flew to Venezuela several times to ask him to accept my retirement. So 1 month before my situation in October. My situation happened in November 2017. So I flew in October 2017 to Caracas, Venezuela, and I get the final approval of my retirement. So I was flying back to here to the US, and when I was in the corporate plane, I was flying back. I received a call, and that call was my PR lady telling me that I needed to be next day in a closing of an event. There is a big summit that Silgo hosts, and it was going to be on a Sunday. So I told her yes, okay. So I go to the event next day with my wife, and in the closing, they brought the motivational speaker that is called Captain Phillips. You know, the guy of the movie that Tom Hanks did in the movie. The real Captain Phillips was the speaker, and his speech was navigating the turbulent waters. And he was talking about his hostage situation, because he became to be a hostage of the Somali pirates. Okay, so that guy finished his speech, and he sit down with me, and I told him that he had a quite of a journey, and he told me that his story was even worse than the movie, because in the movie they shortened the story, so his story was even worse of the movie. But he told me this. He told me that a human being has inside an inner force that is you can unleash your unbreakable spirit if you connect with God. And I didn't know why the guy told me that. I got like, why this guy told me this? And I got, I went to my house driving, thinking in those words. You know what happened? That 1 month after, when I was captured, going to detention with handcuffed, I was thinking in that speech, what that guy told me. And believe me, that made me survive. When I learned that everybody has inside that inner force that can unleash your unbreakable spirit by connecting with God, because that's what we did.
Yeah.
That's what
But
everybody can do it. Everybody can do it, and that's today part of my coaching program. Everybody can do it.
well, Jose, you were captured for 5 years, so that had to have really changed your life. Like 1 minute you're speaking, the next minute you're hostage. Uh, how did that impact your life?
In the first year, I didn't know how I made it. Today, I still don't know how I made it because we were separated. So my first year was in solitary confinement with the lights turned on all day long, and I was all day hearing torture. So I wasn't having physical torture, but I was hearing physical torture. So it was a psychological torture.
Yeah.
And I didn't have nothing, no books, nothing. I was there all day thinking. And my first thought was really terrible. I was even thinking to take my life because can you imagine being in a communist regime, being accused to be a spy? What can be your fate?
Yeah.
So I was really having bad thoughts. But again, when I begin to think in what this guy told me, I begin to think in my family. I one day, I don't know when, in what moment, I said, hey, wake up, take control of your life back, change your mindset. You need to come back in strong in body, spirit, because you have a family outside there waiting for you. And that changed my mind, and that changed my life. After that, my situation changed. uh, as I said, 1 year during that situation, we were reunited with my other colleagues, and we stayed together the next 4 years. And we created like I call like a survivor plan, and we get stick to the plan during 4 years, and we came back. We came back.
So the other four guys that you were hostage with, are you still in contact with them today?
We are in contact. Five. We were six. That's why we were called the Citgo Six, because Citgo
Oh,
is a
okay. Yes, yes,
we
yes.
were six. Citgo Six. No, yes, we are in contact. We are in contact. Some of them, for personal reason, decided to go silent. So now they have a quiet life, retired of everything. They don't have social media, nothing. But we are in touch. And not only in touch, we are now connected because the mayor of Houston, in last December, is going to be 1 year now. He did a proclamation to us, to the six of us, and he declared the Single Six Day on December 19 every year. So in this December, we're going to have a celebration of our first anniversary. So we got connected forever because of that. Our
Now,
story
when
got for life.
yeah, and Jose, when I did some research on hostage, I didn't know that there was a lot of hostage situations that happen in the U.S. and in different countries. And a lot of my listeners might not know this as well, but there's also a U.S. hostage foundation, I believe. I found somewhere
Yeah,
that you guys
I
that you're
today,
on a board or something, right?
today very connected to all these foundations. I work with Hosted US. I work with James Foley Legacy Foundation. I work with the Bring Our Family Home campaign. I work with the Hosted A Worldwide. I work with the Amer Fakuri Foundation. I have been close with the Richardson Center, the Sufan Center. There are many foundations today that take care of the hostels. I'm more involved with ones than the other. For example, I in September, 1 month ago, I was invited to the UN by the Hosted A Worldwide. Last year, I did an event with Hosted US, and I did a blog also with Hosted James Foley Foundation, and also the Bring Our Family Home campaign. So I have been working, advocating for them. And what you said is true. There are a lot of hostels and that people doesn't know. By the way, there are a very famous case in Canada of the two Marks, two guys that were hosted in China. It was a very famous case of in Canada. Because, one of the most advanced legislations in the world to taking care of hostages is the Canadian legislation. It's a reference. So Canada has done a lot for legislation of the hostage situation.
Well, and you know, when I found all of these foundations and these organizations and boards and all that, I was like blown away because that shows just how much is out there that is happening that a lot of people don't even know about, that a lot of people are not aware of. You know, when you reached out to be on Tea Time, Jose, I had never heard of Seago because I'm in Canada, right? And I was like, I need to know more about this. And that's how I am. I'm just a book nerd and I just like to find out things and get that out there and get my listeners to find out that these situations are going on. You were hostage for 5 years, and in that 5 years, you wrote 1,000 letters to your wife. How did you get those letters to her?
Well, after 1 year, as I said, we were reunited at the four, and that happened because the relation with the U.S. and Venezuela were totally broken. They recalled the two ambassadors, so there was no direct contact. So the U.S. what did the U.S. government, they contacted the UN. So the UN flew to Venezuela and they began to take care of or try to pressure our case. So they got the approval. They put us the six together, and they begin to allow us, our families, to bring food. Our families, not the government, our families. So every family began to handle their case. In my particular case, the decision of my family was that my eldest son, he moved to Colombia. He began to provide me food from Colombia to Venezuela, and he did it during 4 years. So can you imagine that 4 years doing that logistics? So when I begin to receive the food, they allow us to have it three days in the week. So not every week and not every day, three times in the week. So they brought this in some cans already prepared. So I had to return 2 days after the cans that was empty. So I discovered that if you put the cans with the double bottom together, they cannot see that there's something there. So I begin to smuggle the letters inside the cans. The first day I did that was like 1 year after, in December 2018. I remember December 30, 2018. 1 year after I've been there, I decided to smuggle the first letter, and it went through. And my surprise was when I received the other 2 days after the food, and I opened the cans and I found the letter of my wife. So we begin to do it like that way, and it begin to be done. We begin doing that 3 years. We keep doing that 3 years. They never discovered the letter. I don't know how. So for me was not only the letter was not only the connection with my family, was that I really was aware of everything that was going on, because we created like a secret code. So we have ways that we say things that if in the case they discovered the letters, they didn't know what we were talking about. I was informed of everything. So when I begin to receive visits, like, I don't know, 2 years after, I don't remember when, I began to receive somebody, that the person that was providing me the food began to visit me during the weekends. He got surprised how much I was informed, because she was telling me everything. So I knew all the negotiations that was going on, everything. I was very, very informed because of those letters. But those letters for me, when I came back, that I didn't know that my wife has compiled them. For me, it was a surprise when I saw that she has compiled all those letters, and not only compiled it, she put it in Word. So I already had the letters in Word. See, the book was almost ready.
There you go.
So I had a great foundation for the book. And when I began to read those letters to convert in the book, I cannot stop crying. I cannot stop crying because I saw all the suffering that I was going through. Because that is the emotion that you will find in the book. Because it's me talking in the jail. It's me talking in the jail. So you are gonna be reading me what I'm saying in the jail. And I got surprised because at the end of the book I do a lot of reflections. When we were almost ready to be come back, because we were having visits of the ambassador Carson that was having direct negotiation. So we knew that it was a matter of time. So we were prepared to come back. in our mind, we were ready to come back. So now I'm infused with a lot of hope. Now I'm infused with a lot of faith because we were reading the Bible. We were in another moment. So when I had the opportunity to go back to those letters, at that moment, I told my wife, I don't believe I wrote this. It was incredible. But yeah, but I had that opportunity. And let me tell you something else. One of the directors of Hosted US, the foundation that you mentioned, he is a former hosted too. He was
Oh,
hosted
wow.
years ago. I'm not going to mention his name for confidentiality, but he's one of the directors. And when I begin to work with them, because Hostel US is a wonderful foundation that they provide you mental and physical support. They have a lot of therapies, psychologists that do advocacy with them. I have a therapist that I saw her this morning. We meet every Tuesday since I came back. Now we became friends. So and when he knew that I had the letters, because I had told the guy that was talking with me the story that I had the letters that I wanted to convert in a book. He called me. He called me, hey, Jose, I want to have a Zoom with you. So this guy, I told him how I did with the letters. And he told me, Jose, when I came back, he wrote his book after 3 years because for him it was difficult to go back to the story. He told him, man, what a blessing you have that you have those letters, because you don't have to go back to your memories. You have it there. Everything is
Yeah.
there. So he was like, wow, you have your letters. He was like, oh, I'm being jealous of you.
Well, Jose, have you ever asked your wife how she felt when she got that first letter?
Yes, yes. Let me tell you, I'm encouraging my wife to write her book too, because she has quite of a story too. Because I'm talking about my story, but
Yeah.
her story. Because what happened is when you're in a situation like this, and this is something that today I talk. When you go into any situation in life, you are in your situation, and it depends of you how long you stay or not stay in dealing with the when you grieve and you decide to move on. But the problem is the family, because the family doesn't know what's going on. They don't know what's going on with you. I stayed months without talking with her. Months. She didn't know what was going. She didn't know how I was. So it becomes a big suffering for the family, and they put their life in pause. So when she received the first letter, she was scared to death. When she received my first letter, she said, "Oh, this is gonna be." She didn't sleep that day because she was really scared.
Yeah.
The risk I have taken.
Well, she was probably fearful that something might happen if somebody found
Of
out about that
course,
letter,
of
right?
course, of course, of course. Yeah, definitive. Yeah.
So, Jose, has that brought you and your wife closer together?
I'm sorry, thing.
Has that brought you closer together, this situation?
Oh, wow. I cannot say it more. Of course, of course. I'm a guy that today I'm not the same guy that I was before. And this is something that today is part of my coaching program, because I discovered that you can be successful in a business, but you need to have a personal fulfillment. And I was missing that piece. And I went through a lot of reflections. And today I'm a man of God. I do church service with her. By the way, I today we were talking about that with my therapist. We had like 1 month without talking, and I was telling her all the things that I have been doing this month. I've done a lot, and I told her name is Daisy. I said, Daisy, the beauty of everything that now Mervis and me are so close. We do all everything together. In my previous life, I even didn't take her a call. I didn't have time for her. I was always busy. I was a busy guy. That's why I tell the people, hey, take care of your personal life.
Yeah.
Go to your family, hug your kids, say that you love them, because you will never know when you're going to miss them. And believe me, you miss them. You miss
Yeah.
them.
Well, that and that's what it happens, right? Challenges in life, situations in life really make us see what really is important to us. Business and all of that is nice, but family, that's who we have to take care of, right? We have to take care of our home first.
Yeah.
So, Jose, When you travel now, do you get fearful?
I have not gone outside the US yet. I'm gonna do my first travel outside the US in January. That I got invited today, by the way, to go to an event in London. So I'm invited to go in January in London, in March in France. So they're going to be my two abroad. And let me tell you, yes, I'm not going to lie here. Eh, I have a case. I have a friend that we're friends today. He was a hostage in an African country. I'm not going to mention because maybe the people will recognize him. Well, that guy, he came back and he was invited to receive an award in London last year. And when he went to Heathrow, he had a red Interpol flag, and he had a bad time. They was going to put him in jail, so the U.S. embassy has to intervene. The State Department has to intervene in their case. So before traveling, I'm gonna call the people here and that take care and say I'm gonna travel. So I want to be safe, you know.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine, going through that situation. You were in your own country and you got hostage. So to travel again. We had a question here. Do you plan on ever going back to Venezuela?
No, no. After the only way I can go to Venezuela is that that regime is taken off. I will never. I can't.
You don't trust it, right?
No, of course not. No, no, no. Well, let me tell you, one. There is a very famous journalist of Venezuela that he was with me as a political prisoner, and he was released like 6 months ago, and they put him back in jail again. He's now again in jail. So he has like
Yeah.
3 months. He was caught back and put him back in jail.
That's going to be really fearful.
Of
So
course.
you mentioned these things that are coming up in London and in France and all that. Is that part of the motivational speaking that you'll
Yes.
be doing?
Yes. Yes. The London is a lady that I met in Sean Fair's event. She's from London. Wonderful lady. We did a great connection. And she called me this morning. She said when we were there in Detroit, she told me, "Hey, because the people got so blown their mind my story." When I went to the States, we were in the Michigan State University. So when I did my speech is called From Captivity to Freedom. And I talk about how you can overcome things in life. And because I always say that you can say that you're a leader, but that your real leadership is tested when you're pushed out your comfort zone and something unexpected comes in your life. That is where you're gonna test if you're a leader or not. So that's what happened to me. That I began to cheer my colleagues. I was kind of the leader, and they also became leaders, and we were all leaders, cheering each other.
Well, that's it, right? Leadership is cheering everybody else on. It's not just me, 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 right? And that was part of your situation as well. When you were in that hostage situation, it was about teamwork, right? Building that plaque and survival plan together, working together. Uh, so I did your quiz on your website on what
You
type
did
of
it.
leader. Yes, I did, and I got servant leader. Leader. So tell me a little bit what the servant leader is.
The servant leader is exactly what you're saying. Is the servant leader is who take care of the others, really take care. But it's not a cliche. It's that really take care of the other. I'm a servant leader, definitely. I'm a servant leader because I believe in the people. I believe that everything is related to human relations. I believe that if you're empathic with your employees and they feel that you really take care of them and you take them in consideration, they're going to be loyal to you. So this is what a servant leader does. Because you can be a visionary leader like like Elon Musk, but maybe you can be visionary, but because I don't know Elon Musk in person, but he doesn't look like a servant leader.
Right? Well, I was really curious to know because, being part of Sean Fair's leadership, you want to know what kind of leader you are, right? Because it is an experience.
Yeah.
For anybody who hasn't seen Sean Fair's leadership experiences tours, check them out. He has them, I believe, quarterly, 3 times a month. Every 3 months, he has shows going on. He found Miss Liz, so like, and he's a humble man. Check him out.
He's
Uh,
going to London, by the way. He's going to be with me in London.
Well, there you go. See, but it's just a small world. When I found out that you were speaking at Sean Fair's, I was like, "Oh my goodness, look at that!" It really is a small world out there. So I want to talk about your tea, because the tea that you gave me, Jose, is never give up.
Yeah.
Why'd you give me never give up?
Let me show you. I don't know if you can see it here. I have this band that says "Never Give Up." This band was created when we were in there. Our kids created something called the 606 Coalition here, and they put it. The motto was "Never Give Up," and they created a T-shirt that says "Never Give Up." You know what was my surprise? That I was in July invited to an event in Washington, and I was invited to go to the State Department to the people that get us released. They did like a gathering with them. So 2 years after, meeting with us and knowing how we're doing. And when I came in the building of the State Department, and I go into the office of this group, the first thing that I found in the entrance, where beside the U.S. flag, was the T-shirt that said "Never Give Up," and award that we give to the ambassador Roger Carson, because we called him Captain America, and we gave him a Captain American award. So he has it in the entrance of the building. You can see the T-shirt that says "Never Give Up," and you see the Captain America. So for me, it was proud, because really never give up for me is today my motto. In your life, anything that you're going in your life, never give up. If you fail or you fall, stand up and keep going, and keep going, and keep going, and keep going, and never give up, because that's what we did. That's what we did. And if anybody that's hearing this does that, at the end you will be successful. Because imagine, I'm today very fan of the Bible. Think about the Bible people, anybody, Solomon, Joseph, Abraham, whoever, Paul. All of them have the same pattern. They always went through severe adversities in their life, and they made it. And you know
Absolutely.
why they made it? Because first they had a calling, but they never gave up. That's why they made it. They always. So that's today. When somebody today say me, "Hey, that's impossible," for me, nothing is impossible.
Right? It's changing the programming that we're being told that we can't do it, that it's not possible. Yes, it is. You might fumble, you might fall, you might need to get up 10 times, 11 times, 12 times, but you can do it if you never give up. I really love that never give up, because we talked about this yesterday with my guests, about the universe giving us these messages and giving us these signs that if we really pay attention, it's there. And your sign was to never give up. In year one, you were thinking, the worst, and then you were something that light clicked on, and you were like, nope, can't give up. You
Mhm.
know. So today, yeah, with your children, Jose, because you have children, how do your children feel about you and you becoming a motivational speaker and sharing your story?
That's a great question. My kid doesn't believe that, because in my past I was like, I didn't have social media. I I was like invisible because I didn't like nothing. So they don't believe that I'm all over today. They love it because they know that I feel passion for that. But for them, at the beginning, is serious, Dad, you want to do that? When my son came back, that one that was in Colombia providing me food during 4 years. He came back. I came back in October 2022. He came back in January 2023 because he had to set up everything to come back here to the US. And when he came back, he told me, "Hey, Dad, I'm done with you." I'm done with you.
That's it. I'm on.
Sayonara. See you later.
So, Jose, how many kids do you have?
I have three kids. I have three kids. All of them are grown up. John has 37. Joao has 33, going to 34, and Sarah has 27. And I have
Oh,
three grandkids.
so you're a grandpa too.
I'm a three kids, grandpa. Yes.
So how does that make you feel being a grandpa?
For me, it's great. I have a story with my eldest grandson, Sebastian, because he was living with my son in Colombia, and my son always was lying to him about my situation. Was telling that the grandpa was in meetings, flying. That he he didn't know that one day Sebastian began to hear what was going on. He began to Google, and he came to his brother and said, "Hey, Grandpa is in jail in Venezuela. He's a hostage."
Okay.
So when I came back and I was writing the book, I was editing the book. He sit down beside me and said, "Grandpa, tell me everything."
Well, that's nice that he asked that, right? But when he heard the word hostage, did he understand what hostage meant?
No, 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 no. Of course not. I had to explain it. The people, the the hostage world is a world that for me is kind of bizarre, because typically the person that go to a situation like me are high stake people, but not politicians. Okay, maybe you can be a businessman, or you can be a religious authority, or a pastor, whatever, because they take you, and it has to be somebody that can be some interest to the government. For example, if they take a Canadian hostage, they want somebody they can leverage. Or if they take care of a German hostage, they always try to leverage you, because the problem with the hostage situation, that is called the hostage diplomacy, is a very sophisticated way to do diplomacy, where they take you, they leverage you, and they ask to get you released a lot. It began to be a lot. In our case, they were asking to get relief sanctions, get an oil embargo lifted, or a drug lord very close to the government get freed. So they begin to ask a lot. So
Yeah.
that's why this negotiation takes so long, because are complicated. Has to be approved by the Congress. So, it becomes to be very, very complicated.
So, Jose, are you in any danger now that you're out?
Well, I take care of my security. I take care of my security, but I'm not a threat, because, again, I'm not a politician. I can be a threat because I say things in my book and maybe people don't like.
But that's the truth, right? And the truth is hard to hear.
Yeah.
We live in a world where the truth is doesn't want to be heard. It doesn't want to be seen. And that's what I really like about memoirs is it gives you a chance to express your story, your vision of it and version of it. The other hostage that were with you, have they read your book?
I never have asked, to tell you the truth, because the way I did my book, let me tell you something. That's why my book is called My True Story of the Circo Six. I was very clear to put it that is my story, because my book is based on my letters. That means it's my very personal journey. I was very respectful in my book, and I do a big disclaimer in the beginning. If you read my book, the first section is a disclaimer, where I disclaim that for respect of them, I don't mention them. I don't mention them, and the only mention of them is the day that we went to the plane, because they were with me in the plane. But after we were captured, I don't mention them. So for is I talking about my story, because I wanted to be respectful. Because, for example, Jorge, he's gonna write his book. I believe he's gonna release it next year. He's gonna tell his story. Maybe they're gonna be similar, because we were all together, but everybody is telling the story from their point of view. So I was very respectful that given the chance that anybody can, if there want to be six books, they're going to be six books.
Well, and that's the importance that we need to get out there, right? Is it's your story, your personal story, and there might be different versions of it because that's their version of how they went through and what they experienced. You were able to express it with your wife with the letters. Were other hostages able to write letters to their loved ones?
It's really funny, but yes. And you know why? Because when they knew that I was doing the letters, and I had all the logistics. I became like a courier for all the other guys sending at some point I was sending in the camp 6 letters. So I began to, at some point they began to do that. But yes, everybody at some point was having contact because we needed to do it because we were in isolation. Can you imagine having 10 months without knowing about your family?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Jose, let's get into that because you were gone for 5 years. So how did the world change for you for 5 years when you
That's
came back?
a question, and that's gonna be my second book. So be ready. My second book is gonna talk about the life after you come. You come like you're coming in a time machine. That's the best way to express this. Imagine that you have been lost in translation in the space and you appear 5 years after in a world that you don't recognize. It's a post-pandemic world that I didn't suffer the pandemic. I was in jail. So I didn't know all that crazy thing that happened during the pandemic. So now I came back and I found that people are here that you have the people are very sensitive. If you say something, they have their skin, very, very sensitive. So I didn't recognize it, the world. For me, it was really difficult at the beginning. And putting back your life, simple things like taking back my driver license was a pain in the ass. Getting all my paper back because the people don't understand that you were not here. I remember, I'm gonna say this, that I had with one of these big bank, I had a credit card, a corporate credit card, and he had 5 years in collection. I didn't know that. So when I came back, I found that in Hosted US, one of the things that they do is help you in reorganize all your finances. So with the officer of Hosted US, talking with the officer of the bank, and they were explaining, we represent Hosted US, we take care of Hosted, that we're here in representation of the US government, blah, 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 blah. And he did that speech to the officer. That guy didn't understand what was going on. He was treating me like I was a guy that was laid off of a job the day after. And I told the guy, hey, what part of the story didn't you get that I had 5 years being hostage? So the people don't get it.
Yeah.
The people don't get it. It's difficult.
Well, I say this all the time, Jose. If you don't live it, you don't understand it. And it's hard for people to understand because they don't put themselves in that situation.
Yeah.
They're fast to judge it, they're fast to misunderstand it, or they're fast to say, oh well, that's just an excuse, get over it. That was your story, now you're back, let's get back to work. Get over it, get over it. We hear that a lot, right? Especially when you go through challenges and struggles in life, we always hear that. Oh, you know what, get over it, just move on. So have you gotten that from a lot of people?
Yes, of course, a lot, a lot, a lot. But that's why I decided to begin to talk. That what pushed me to begin to be a speaker and write a book and did a coaching because and I do advocacy also for the housing community. As I said, I'm connected with the foundation. Every time they need me, they know they can have me because I put my image with them as a former hostage. And one of the things that I decided to do this is exactly to try to, the people understand more about this because the people don't get it. The people think that when you come back, it's a love story, the end of a tribulation, love story. No, it's another round that is coming. That's why I decided that my second book is going to talk about that.
Well, there's a lot of healing journey and a lot of trauma, a lot of
Of course,
triggers.
I begin to have PTSD event. My therapist, Daisy, she told me because I was thinking that I was okay, and she told me be aware because you can begin to have triggers. And I had my first trigger like 1 month after I came back. It was a big trigger. I was, what's going on with me? I did because things like, for example, this guy, they when they lock us in the jail, they did have this big sound with a lock. Clunk, clunk. Every time I heard that metallic sound, I begin to shake. I cannot not hear somebody yelling me near to my eyes because that's what this guy did to us. So there begin to be a lot of triggers, and but I'm gonna say here openly that Daisy has been a blessing because she began to manage my therapy in a way that I could begin to l- go back to normal. For example, she began to do regression with me, and I could go back to the jail and talk with the Jose that was there and hug him and tell him that we're free, that let it go. I began to swim in the nights, and I was swimming with him, and I let him go in the water. So I began to do things that she began to teach me how to do it, and that began to heal me. And talking like I'm talking today, and when I write and I write articles and I do my newsletter, whatever I'm doing, all that has been part of my healing process.
Well, I really want to thank you for being a voice because there's a lot of voiceless people out there. And I'm glad that you're sharing your story because you're bringing awareness to topics that need to be aware of.
Yeah.
We got to stop keeping everything in the quiet. We got to keep, keeping all the trauma and PTSD and all triggers. Those are things we should be speaking about because those are real life effects that are affecting people across the globe, not just US, not just Canada, but
Globally.
all over, right? Um, so, Jose, you have this Jose Connect. So, for people to connect, what's that all about? Tell us about that.
Jose Connect, because I believe that today I'm a connector. You can see it here, Jose Connect, and you see my book in the banner. Um, because for me, the connection is how you really can find your path that, from your business and your personal fulfillment. Because this is something key that people sometimes put their life in pause because they want to be successful.
Yeah.
So they work a lot being successful. They work a lot in being, if you're having a business, have a successful business, or if you're in a company, have a successful career. So you put your life aside. You put your family, you put your marriage, your wife, you put your friends, you put yourself aside. So I rediscovered, because I rediscovered that all that you need to have that balance. So that's what Jose Connect it does. So when you go to my webpage, you can find that my coaching program, I have like two tiers of coaching. I have one that is more to the C-suite, that is more dedicated to this, but I have another one that is more for a business owner, entrepreneur, startup, where I can lead them how they can navigate their things in their life and be successful. Things like communication. People sometimes struggle to have a good communication with their employee, or being empathic with their employee, or really having a clear vision that you want to transmit to your employee. This is the thing that I not only coach it, I do it in my newsletter that is called Building Resilience, and I do it in my weekly podcast that I do every Monday that is called also Building Resilience. For example, this Monday, I talk about the 2025 goals, how to achieve successful goals. And I was talking to the people, very simple thing that you have to do to become successful with your goals. But for me, the most important thing, Miss Liz, is that the connection with your entity, whatever you believe in. In my case, I'm a God believer.
Yep.
So you need to have that connection, because that's what I'm gonna give you, that connection to your greatness. And when you make that connection, you will get surprised, because this is what faith does. When you see the things before they happen, so you work for that, and maybe it will surprise how things can happen even when you're not expecting them to happen, because now you're aligned, you're focused. So this is all the things that today I try to express to the people, and
Well,
this is for me.
Absolutely, right? And there's opportunities to knock on your door and you're like, who, me? Like, you know, uh back to Sean Farrow when he knocked on my door, I was like, I just serve tea. Like, I'm just a tea lady. I just like storytelling and words, and I like to motivate people to encourage to share their stories. You know, overcoming stuff, it really is needed in today's world. Our stories really need to be needed in today's world. Jose, you gave me the word super positively when I asked you to give me a word for to describe yourself. Why did you give me that word? Well, you gave
because
me two because it's super positively. So those are two words.
because I'm a super positive guy. I always was a positive guy. This is something that is part of my DNA. I always was a positive guy. But after that experience, I'm not only positive, I'm super positive. Because I really believe that things in life you can make it and nothing is impossible, and you have to keep going and never give up. So that's my mindset.
And I asked you your favorite color. And if anybody can tell, if you look at Jose's background, it's blue. So his favorite color is blue. So why blue, Jose?
To tell you the truth, I don't know, but I always have blue is my color. Blue is color of like hope. It's a color of hope. But my thing always has been blue. Everything. So when I rebranded my webpage, I said I wanted to be blue. Everything blue.
And it looks good. I like the blue. I like the black. It looks good, especially on a man. Blue. I put a blue suit on next time, Jose. So, Jose, what message would you like to leave everybody out there with today?
Well, as I said, nothing is impossible. Everything can be done. You can overcome anything in life. You need to get that connection with your superiority, in my case, connected with God, and 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 you can unleash that unbreakable spirit that you have inside and never give up. Never give up.
So, Jose, let's get your podcast out there so people can tune into that. So, when is that, and how can they find that?
I do my podcast every Monday morning, 8 a.m. Central Time. Look what I do. I write my newsletter during the weekend that is called Building Resilience. And I talk about the topic that I'm going to talk in the podcast. So what I do is I put the newsletter so that people can read it, subscribe it, and we can understand what I'm going to talk. When I go to the podcast on Monday, I do it simultaneously in a Facebook Live, in a Christian channel called HOD Radio Network, and I do a LinkedIn audio room. Why I do the LinkedIn audio room? Because I love to bring people to the stage so they can speak. So I do like a 30 minutes talking about the topic, try to and put in my example, the thing that I went through, because I went through a lot of things in my life. So I can talk a lot about leadership, okay? Because I situation that I really handle that I try to put examples. And after those 30 minutes, I open the mics, and I got really surprised how a lot of people, very wise people, are coming to my show. So they spread their wisdom. The show has been becoming really great. I'm enjoying it.
Well, that's incredible. So, I really want to thank you, Jose, for coming and sharing your story. So, if anybody would like to grab the book, where can they grab the book?
In my webpage, you can find the link to Amazon, or you can go directly to Amazon. But in my book, in my webpage, you can find everything related to me. My webpage got beautiful because I have there my coaching program. I have there my speaking. Yeah, anybody that wants to book me for any speaking, and they can see the speaking that I have there. It goes to my YouTube channel where I have a lot of material. And it has a link to my book and has all my media appearance, all my podcasts, and I leave my podcast recorded there because I do it live. It gets recorded, so I post it because people like sometimes to hear things recorded. So I put it there every week.
Well, live and
Put it-
recorded, you got the goods and the bads with that as well, right? The lives, you got the bloopers, you say your little oops, and then the recorded, you can like, oh, I can fix that.
Well, that the only problem that having and that LinkedIn of your room sometimes are giving glitches, and I hate that in the middle of somebody speaking, it turns off. So I had to go. But I have, you see my recording. I have like three phones. with backups.
You have to, right? In today's world, you need a backup. You need a plan B, C, D, E. You need those backups.
If you see a photo when I'm recording the podcast, you can see 3 phones, 2 computers, the 2 mics, a lot of things around just in case.
Well, thank you so much, Jose, for joining me on today's Tea Time. And I really want to thank you for sharing your story. Keep being a voice for the voiceless out there. Keep bringing awareness to these situations because I think they're deeply important. Thank you to my listeners and supporters out there. If you're listening to the replay, please push hashtag replay. Let Miss Liz know where you're tuning in from. Stay tuned. The press release for the reunion show is coming out soon. Also, the press release for December's lineup will be coming out. And we will be back Thursday with 2 incredible teas as well. We have in the morning. Susan Carlis is coming, and she's sharing her son's story about heart transplant and organ transplant, the importance of that. And then in the evening, we have J.M. Shaw coming in, and she'll be talking about her Callum Walker book series, and autism and ADHD. We're just going to keep talking about all these incredible topics that need to get out there. If you'd like to know more about Miss Liz, check out Miss Liz's website at www.misslizsteatime.com. And I will see everybody on Thursday, same time, same place. And we're going to serve tea all over again, Miss Liz style. And we do have a couple comments that I just want to put up here. Thank you, Bruce, for tuning in again. He's saying thanks to you, Jose, for being here today. And we will be back Thursday, same time, same place. And we'll do this all over again. You know how Miss Liz rolls. We don't do beverage. We do storytelling and words. So until then, keep serving your tea, keep being real, and keep being true to yourselves. And we'll make a difference 1 cup of tea at a time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.